and welcome back to the Big Blue in the Bronx YouTube channel, everyone. Hope you guys are doing well. Hit the like button, comment, subscribe, turn on post notifications so you know when a live stream pops or drops. Go sub up to the Brian Mansell Show. Link is in the description. But I'll say it in the beginning, and of course we'll repeat it at the end. Bittersweet, because we had a lot of fun this year for the Senior Bowl. Obviously, we're looking to do this and make it a staple of every year. We'll do reflections at the end. But the Senior Bowl game today was the most eventful Senior Bowl game, I think, really in history. In the 76 years it's been going. There was a little emotional thing at the end, emotional ending, if you guys know the backstory of that. But I'll go around with first thoughts, and then we'll go winners, losers, and all that sort of stuff. So I'm going to start with Luca, and then we're going to go with
First
Brian.
thoughts, one hell of a game. Most exciting Senior Bowl that I've watched. Just a lot of fun. Obviously, Alex mentioned a lot of motion, and overall, just like before we get into the end, obviously that's going to be a while from now. Just a great experience overall, just meeting new people and all that different stuff.
Brian?
Yeah, I mean, this game was something. It's when we get into detail about this game, you guys are going to see like how important this game was to a select few. It was how do I explain this? It was very
Touching?
touching. Yeah, I think that'd be the word. It was very touching and fitting ending. It was almost poetic. So when we get into it, I just want to make that very stress that this was an emotional ending to a game.
Yeah, I'm gonna hold out one of my winners on the American side for that specific reason. You know, you two know why.
Yeah,
But winners, I'm gonna start with the national side, then go to the American side. I mean, obviously the American team won. It really was down to the defense, in my opinion. Like, I wasn't that impressed by the offense. I mean, there was two trick plays, one on each side, which was really interesting. We didn't see that last year. On one side, it was Ollie Gordon throwing to the receiver's name is
Jaden Higgins.
Jaden Higgins. Thank you very much. And then R.J. Harvey threw a touchdown pass to, I think it was Ty Felton from Maryland.
correct.
So both of those trick plays, and I think Seth Hennigan said in the presser that was not at all covered in practice. That was just, we got to make it happen. It was not in the film in practice, as per se. But as I said, I really thought it was down to the defense today for the national side. I got Olu Oladejo. He was dominant. He had 2 sacks. That's probably going to rise his stock to the second round, and I believe he's still learning that edge position, is what he said in the post-game presser. So there's some to that. Landon Jackson, he's a guy that really dominated today, probably up on the ranks with Oladejo. Junior Tafuna, late addition to the Senior Bowl roster within the last few weeks. He's a guy that I think had 1 or 2 sacks today.
Calm down, man. You're taking all my picks right now. What's going on here?
I would say Tafuna also had a fumble recovery.
Yes, I'll definitely let you guys have your say. Harold Fannin Jr., I think, was probably the best offensive player, the most consistent offensive player for the national side, and Sebastian Castro. Now, before we let these guys elaborate on their picks too and all that different stuff, that was not a fumble on Arian Smith. His knee was down, but I guess they didn't want to overturn it.
I have the replay footage. If they want to, they can plug it. There's a clear point where you see his knees down, the ball still in his arm. It's about a few frames worth of evidence that he was clearly down by contact.
Yeah, no, he was clearly down by contact. But I'll start with Brian, and I'll go to Luca in terms of the winners on the national side.
Well, first off, it would have been nice if you left me some, because I had down Olu, I had Jackson, I had Tafuna, and I had Castro. But I guess I'm left with my one guy remaining. I mean, I guess I'll have to find one more. But I'll start with my first guy I already had here. I'm going to name an FCS guy.
Okay.
I'm going to name this one FCS guy who really did well today. He was very good. And that's going to be another edge guy, which was David Walker. David Walker of Central Arkansas, massive disruptor. We knew that going into this.
Yeah.
But there was another level to him today. Like a second gear that I didn't know he had up until this game today.
He was quiet throughout the week, I must say.
He was quiet and he had some quick moves. I mean, there was points where he was getting held up and he had a nice rip down and he pushed him down to the side, disengaged real quick, shifted over to the got low, shifted over, put himself into the chest of the running back, which I believe blocking on the play was Brashard Smith of SMU.
Yep.
Broke through, and was able to get a nice sack on Milrow. That is what Walker can bring, and I love that element to his game. Correction, that was Oladejo. That's who I just described. But still, Walker had a couple good disruptions, constantly into the backfield, taking out running backs.
I think
very good at that.
I don't want to interrupt you, Brian. I think you're talking about the play where he was up against Carson Vincent, where you showed me the play earlier where he just got inside of Vincent with that. I think it was like I don't want to say it was a swim move.
Oladejo had 2 sacks today.
No, I know. I'm saying like
so with Walker, there was a few plays he did. Vincent was definitely one of the victims today from that, which we can get into that later. But if I had to name another winner outside of him, I mean, you took Castro, so thanks a lot. But if I had to think off a whim, I'm going to switch to the offense. You said there really wasn't too much on offense to really focus on. For the national side, I have to call out Jaquavius Marks. Jaquavius Marks early in the game had some really good moments. I saw a lot more agility than I saw on the tape originally. He's very nimble, and he can switch gaps quickly and change things up on a whim and accelerate and decelerate with great control. I really love that about him. And now I go to the American side, the winning team from today. I'm not going to name the guy, unless you guys want me to name the guy I'm going to say.
I think we should leave it for the end.
Let's leave the guy for the end. And he'll be our number one for the day.
Yes.
We'll save him
he was
for the
MVP.
end.
yeah.
So I'll leave him alone, but I'm going to name another guy. I went through all the quarterbacks for today, and there were a lot of good ones, obviously. There was one guy I felt didn't do as well, but I'm going to pick the guy who probably showed the best stuff, and when not many people wrote well about him going into this game, that was Seth Hennigan. Yes, he had one bad play. We all know about that play. It was a fumbled snap, but I watched the replay on it. It was a split between him and Lampkin. It was not a great snap, but he also could have had a better grip on the ball. Led to turnover. Thankfully, the defense were able to do their job and hold him back, and they rebounded well. Hannigan, after that, threw some great dimes. I saw some phenomenal throws out of him. He had one really nice one to Arian Smith I saw. He was really, really good all the way around. Showed a lot more that I liked, and he ran the 2-minute drill very well today, especially in a high-pressure situation where the American team needed to win. So I give him a lot of credit. And I think on the defensive side, there's a couple guys I can name, but I'm going to go with my dog, Aeneas Peebles from Virginia Tech. Oh my goodness, I loved everything I see about him. They say being small is a bad thing. In his case, it's a good thing. Because him being so small gives him an extra step of quickness, gives him an extra burst, allows him to blow plays up with ease, and I love that about him. He even did that today. How about this? We got tape of this too. On an option play, option read, no problem. Peebles got so quick off the snap, the O-line didn't have time to even set a hand on him. He slipped right by. He got between one pulling tackle. The other one went to pick him up, couldn't reach him in time. It didn't matter if the quarterback held on to the ball or handed the ball off. Peebles was taking both of them down. That's how quickly he got in the backfield. They couldn't run an option. They couldn't run the read because he was blowing it up already. But that's the beauty of Peebles, and that's why I really like him going into the draft. He's going to be a huge steal for any team that needs him. He's going to be a massive, massive disruptor. And it makes sense now why he calls himself and compared himself once to Aaron Donald. He's got a lot of elements similar to his game.
Yeah. Luca, since Brian went into the winners on the American side, I guess you could do both. Winners
I'll do my mix of both.
National.
My
It's all good. I'm going to start with the national side and go with the defense. You guys mentioned Oladejo. He had a very nice day. Landon Jackson Jr. Tafuna. Another guy, I'm sure maybe Brian mentioned him already, Darius Alexander, who was also good throughout the week. I got to call my buddy Dom on this. Dom C, check him out on Twitter. Dom C New York Jets, I think the account is. He predicted that Darius Alexander would rise his stock throughout the week during the Senior Bowl. And boy, I think he has. I think he's like a second, third round pick right now. He's great in both aspects, whether it's rushing the passer or getting in between and clogging those gaps in the run game. He did a phenomenal job today. Was he the best defensive lineman? I don't think so, but he still made his mark. Let me see who I got for the American national side, the offensive side of the ball.
The D line is deep too, so don't think we're not saying it's not good. We're saying it's a deep class of really good linemen.
And in terms of what happened early on, obviously with the national side and the offensive side of the ball, you had Elijah Arroyo have a 2-point conversion using his height and size. I think he showed out a little bit before the offense made a transition a little bit and started using, I think, Bartholomew, but he really disappointed in my opinion. Ollie Gordon, I thought, for somebody who didn't really show out this week, I think had some nice flashes as well. So that, in terms of the national side, those were my winners. In terms of my winners for the American side, I'd say Caleb Ransaw was a stock neutral for me. Not so much a winner or a loser. Did good and bad. Same thing with Tyler Show, if we want to head back to the national side.
Had a really nice pick.
Yeah, had a really nice pick, as I mentioned, ironically, Ransaw and Show. But I thought Show, had some accurate throws. Just the interception was the bite in the ass. But in terms of other guys on the American side, I thought Trevor Etienne played very well. He started to show out late latter end of the week. Ja Joyner, I think he was on the national side, had a very nice day as well. Ty Felton had a touchdown.
I just wrote another guy. There's one more guy in the American roster who was a very big disruptor today, who was an edge guy. If you can figure him out on the American side, let's see if you know.
Uman Yellen?
Uman Yellen had some nice plays, but there was one guy that every time I watched a highlight with him in it on the tape, he was always in the backfield. Always in the backfield. Every time.
Was that Savion Jones?
There you go.
Savion Jones. Another guy I think Domsey mentioned that was going to rise throughout the week. And Domsey actually got to interview, and it was a very good interview. But Savion Jones was just a quick riser throughout the Senior Bowl process. So if I had to predict, those were all my winners.
Yeah. Savion Jones definitely, and I had him, I think, as probably third round pick at latest coming into this. And then I studied him. I studied him before and came down here. Had a really impressive week. I love his arms. I think one of the things that he just needs to work on is finishing and getting to the quarterback. And yeah, I think he fits in a couple of different spots in that defensive line. Ollie Gordon was mentioned in ASP. I thought R.J. Harvey had a really nice day. He's been one of the quieter running backs throughout the week. But the last 2 days, in terms of being there, not Friday, of course, but Thursday's practice and the Senior Bowl game, I thought R.J. Harvey really made a name for himself. But I do want to go to the losers.
Can I mention one more?
Sure.
Winner? Did I mention that Riley Leonard was the most consistent quarterback out of all the both teams, in my opinion?
Him and Hennigan.
That's fair.
The
I would
most
say
consistent, I'll take that.
Most consistent is like it's not like too much of an achievement.
Not putting him on a pedestal.
You're not putting him on a pedestal. It's just he was the most consistent at whatever he was doing. He didn't do great, didn't do awful, most consistent. But the losers on the American side, speaking of quarterbacks, I have to go with two. I have to go with the most anticipated out of this group, and I have to say Jackson Dart and Jalen Milroe. Mm-hmm. Milroe, my problem with him was that he was holding the ball way too long, and obviously the D-line won the day.
Dart was doing the same thing, too.
Dart was doing the same thing, yes. You had Milroe just holding the ball too long. Aladejo got a sack off that. There was another sack where Milroe was just holding the ball too long. I didn't think he did well in that regard.
I think Milroe's problem as well is I think he was underthrowing a couple of guys. Yeah. He wasn't stepping into his throws.
But he was under a lot of pressure as well.
That's true.
Yeah. And the second thing, Brian was mentioning a little bit is Jackson Dart. He had the two fumbles, not great at all. Ball security has been an issue for different quarterbacks this week. The second fumble was taken away by a face mask penalty, but the first fumble was quite awful. So I was, you could make your discrepancies. I don't know how Brian feels because he was on the photography side of it, whether it was good placement or not good placement on the ball to Jack Bech. But the running ability was the best thing about Carson. I won't say Carson Wentz because that's what I think he plays
Jackson
like.
Dart.
Jackson Dart. And also, I thought Clay Webb didn't play too well. I thought he was getting exposed a little bit on that inside. And then quickly for the national side losers, I didn't think Josh Connerly played that well. He's got some footwork issues, some lower body stuff that I was looking back on the film before we came down here, and a lot of people have been saying the same thing. I don't think personally, and I'll let you guys obviously handle your losers from American and national side. I don't think Connerly's had as good of a week as many people anticipate, though he will still be one of the top offensive tackles in this class.
I think that's a fair assessment. I really think it is. Do you want to proceed or you want me to?
Yeah. I'm just going to dive into my I did it compared to winners and losers. As I said, I've done stock down, stock up, stock neutral. So I'm going to dive into that. I thought Jackson Dart wasn't so much a loser. I thought he was a stock neutral. more so leaning towards the downside. But two other guys that we've not mentioned, Logan Brown, tackle out of Kansas. I don't think he did too well, especially towards the end of the week. He was just getting beat by speed rushers all day and all night.
And it was evident today, too.
Absolutely. And another guy, not Emory Jones, but another LSU guy, Garrett Dellinger. Penalties, holding, false start, just didn't seem like his day. Moving to the other side, or I should say the other part of the losers territory, I don't think I really had anybody else that was notable, I'll be honest. The rest was neutral.
Okay, so then that's going to put me in an awkward situation because I've got a few. Before I go into this, I want to make it very clear. I don't hate these players.
None of us do.
None of us do.
None of us do.
We respect all of them. They're great people. But now it's time to get critical. I'm going to start with the national side. I'm going to start with quarterback. Taylor Ogersma. Listen, he had some good plays. He had a couple good throws. But my biggest issue I had with him, and everybody had, was the adjustment from play in Canada to play here. Different concepts, different schemes, different, more complex zone coverages, coverage designs, different pressure.
Area of the field.
Exactly, the area of the field. He had to get used to all that. And he had all week to do so. He wasn't really that strong in any of the practices, and it really showed today. He had a couple good throws underneath on some short routes, but anything vertical, he was hitting some bumps, and he was taking a lot of sacks. He didn't have much time to throw. He tried to roll out. There's one play he tried to roll out and try to run. He can't run. He's a pocket passer. Very much pocket passer. It didn't take long for I think it was the Georgia defensive lineman.
Tyrion
Ingram Dawkins. He's not very fast. He's not a very fast guy. Dawkins chased him down and tackled him after like a 6-yard gain. So that just tells you the kind of speed Ogersma had in the open field. Really not much. So overall, he's really not ready, in my opinion, to move any farther forward. I wish I could say he is, but I can't. I can't say he's a bad guy on the defensive side either for the national. There really wasn't a one that spoke out to me today. Nobody really sat there and said, wow, he really's got a lot of work on. Nope. I do have another one on the offense, though. Caleb Rogers, Texas Tech. There's a few times I saw him trying to set his hands, and they were just moving. They were just kind of moving his hands out of the way and making their way with him and just moving him forward. They were just he had nothing. He had no way to counter. Couldn't reestablish his leverage. Got beat pretty quick and was just playing chase, just chasing him at that point. So that's it for the national. But on the American side for me, for negatives, I got one on each team. So don't worry, I got it this time. I'll start defense this time. There was one. I'm not going to blame the one Tulane guy. I'm not going to talk about Ransaw. Ransaw, I think, was a neutral guy today, despite the one pick he had. But it was a different Tulane guy I had an issue with. Jonathan Edwards. There's a few plays today, especially on the 2-point conversions I was watching. He was getting beat by the faster guys. Listen, he was staying good job, staying step and step, but that play, he's got to play the ball better. I said the same thing a couple days ago when we did our day 3 recap. Edwards has to work on his ball skills. Getting involved, disrupting the ball, doing everything he can to get that ball free and prevent it from ever touching the receiver's hands. That's what he has to work on. I didn't really see that on day 3. I saw that was an issue. Didn't see much of an improvement today from him in that front. And then on the offensive side, I love the guy so much. He's such an incredible human being. But unfortunately, he didn't have a good day today. That was Carson Vincent. Alabama A&M. It was very clear to me. Every rep I saw, they put him up against Landon Jackson, which is like feeding a baby pig to a bear.
It was bad.
It was bad. It was.
He was good throughout the week, though.
He was very good throughout the week in practice. He did a great job in one-on-ones also, but listen, when it's game time, it's game time. And I don't think Vincent was necessarily mentally in the right spot to understand what was about to happen. I do think he's still going to get a really good spot in the draft.
I'm sure he will.
I don't think he'll be in the top 3 rounds. I think he's going to get picked on day 3, but he's going to make a roster and he's going to be a depth piece. And he's going to be really good for somebody. He'll be able to max out his talents with the right team. It's just today it was really bad. Every defender had a way to get around him, and it sucked to watch. But you know what? It happens. You have a bad day. Today was a really bad day for him. I think alone he allowed probably 2 to 3 sacks today on his own, which is not okay. And a lot of QB hurries and a lot of contact, even a fumble. That was, should have been fumble. But there's one play, Dart went to throw, he got his arm contacted, lost the ball, but they said that it was a flag anyway, but it was, regardless of that fact, contact was made on Dart's arm. If there's no flag, it could have been a fumble. They called it incomplete pass. It could have been argued a fumble. You can't have that happen, and that was on Vincent. Vincent let the guy get around and get contact on the arm to get the ball loose, and that can't happen. So that was my downside for him, and that was what I felt about in terms of negatives for the day.
Yeah, before we go on reflections, I mean, it was an emotional day for one guy, and we all, we know, we subliminally know the name, but if you guys don't, that's Jack Bech. His brother was killed in the New Orleans terrorist attack on
New Year's
Day, and he scored the game-winning touchdown a month after his brother was killed. 7 seconds left to go. 7 was the number his brother wore when he was playing at Princeton. I don't know if there was any other signs that he mentioned in that post game.
He also said 7 is a holy number.
7.
He also mentioned the number 17. Was that the play clock?
That was the play clock, I believe, at one point. I think it was the clock when they first got to the red zone.
Okay, yeah.
Something like that. Yeah.
He catches the game-winning touchdown. 7 seconds left. He's wearing the number 7 because of his brother. And it's not even just, we're going to gas him up because of the situation. No, he was really dominant all week.
And he had a very good day today. He backed up everything that happened this week today. There's even one of my favorite plays of the day. It's not even from an emotional standpoint, because I even get a little emotional about it, we're thinking about it. It's not the game-winning touchdown. It's the show he put on in other ways. Mm-hmm. He was the reliable guy. He was the check-down guy. Nobody was open. Get it to Bech. Get it to Bech. He's going to pull it out. He's going to go ahead. He's going to get you the extra yardage you need, get you downfield a little bit, give you some cushion. That's what he did. He did a great job at that. But one play in particular, Jackson Dart had nowhere to go with the ball. He was running out of time in that pocket. They were going to collapse because the O-line wasn't the sharpest today. And he throws a really far pass. I got to say probably a 50-yard throw. And it's pretty much one-on-one for Bech against a really good DB that was in coverage. And he was able to get it. He was able to secure the ball, high point it with heavy contact, and come down with it. Things like that are what make him such a special player. And listen, I'm trying to take the emotional aspect out of it. But I really think he might be a fringe first round guy now. After this week, I could make a case for it to be a fringe first round. To put him in the first round, and take a shot in the first round if I really need a receiver that badly. He was that good. He was that good.
I'd say, I have not watched the tape on him. I didn't do the scouting report. It was this guy. I'd say second and third. Like, what would you say? And, yeah.
He's definitely now a second. He's not even a third. He's a second round pick.
Yeah.
Early to mid.
Well, this is the last video we will be doing for the Senior Bowl, as I talked about it before, and bittersweet. I'm going to go down the line. Reflection on the experience once again. And just, your thoughts. So, Sir Brian, I'll let you take the mic first.
Well, it was a long week. I could definitely say this is the least amount of sleep I've gotten in a week. And probably since college. And we used to all-nighters when you had to do papers. But it was a worth it experience. It was great people. Love the hospitality, the experiences, meeting new friends, fellow content creators. It was amazing. Shout out Cardiac Cats. Big one.
Absolutely. Jacob,
good dude. Obviously, shout out the guys we know.
Jeremy from Jets Chaos, Dom C.
Yep. Love those guys a lot. We met a few people. Also, Anan Nanduri, player profiler. That's such a great group.
Also, Zach and TJ from 32 Beat Writers.
Yes,
yep, 32 Beat. Always, if you guys haven't followed those accounts, for real, they are amazing people. Worth the follow every time. It's not just, being here is not just about meeting people and, it's not just about going here, doing your scouting reports, going home. It's not here about getting footage, going home. It's not here about creating content that I could use later and schedule a bunch of posts, and that's it. And then we go home. It's more about meeting people who are trying to do the same things you're doing. People in the same field. Growing closer to different people. You know, I have to share a house with these two right now this week.
Oh my
You know how hard that's been? Do you know how hard that's been? You guys have no idea. You have no idea. We'll get into that another day when we do a live show. But what I will say is the experience has been nothing but fun. It's incredibly humbling and really appreciative. I met some amazing people here, and if I could come down here every year, even if it cost me $10,000, I'd do it again.
I must agree with Sir Brian and Alex over here. It was a great experience overall. Second time doing this, second consecutive year. We're meeting more people. You know, we're trying to make more connections as possible. But it's always a humbling experience, you know, to do what we do as content creators, trying to scout and all that. But, you know, what gets lost in all the scouting is like, you know, just taking in everything, you know, as I said, creating new connections, talking with the people we talk to. As Brian said, Jeremy, Dom C, 32 beat writers, Pat's beat guys who we just met this year. You know, they were new to the party. Same thing.
Shout out to them.
Absolutely. Shout out to them as well. Jacob from Cardiac Cats, great guy who I just met this year. So all fun and good. Can't wait for this next year. It's going to be so much fun once again.
Yeah, I mean, it sucks that, you know, Brian was busted by balls over the fact that Mike Kafka was supposed to speak at the...
Can I bring it up?
Sure,
I want to bring it up because I love messing with him about this. We were in the post-game presser. You guys will see those videos at some point soon. So they ran through a few different players, and they also said they were going to include the coaches, Ventrone, and they were going to include Kafka. So they ran through a bunch of players. You guys will find out when the videos come out. And then they were supposed to have Ventrone and Kafka, the two head coaches. Do the whole thing. Me and Luca get involved. Ask a bunch of questions. We didn't even have anything written. We just went off what happened in the game. Other things we're looking forward to. Just anything on the fly we could think of. Including one special player, which, again, you'll see later. And then at one point, it ends. It ends. And when it ends, there's no coaches. So, how many questions? I probably got about 5-6 questions in.
Yeah.
Luca got about 4. This guy, at the end...
Big fat 0.
He put all his eggs in a basket. We talk about this. Our parents make metaphors about this. They have sayings that say, don't put all your eggs in one basket. Spread them out, man. And he didn't. He didn't ask any questions as the other guys. We did. Because he put everything on, I got one major question, one massive question regarding the Giants that I'm going to ask Kafka, and Kafka never showed. And neither did the winning coach Ventrone.
Yeah, so that was a learning experience. Yeah, big fat
Final response.
L. Big fat L.
You should ask your questions.
So yeah, I mean, it was a great experience this year. You know, it's not unrecognizable that we don't have another person with us. So we were really like deviating from certain plans, like, oh, we should be a 3 team for these interviews, or we should be a 2 and a 1 team.
The other thing is, we came up with a plan, and I thought we were more successful than last year. We evolved.
We did.
Yeah.
In the end, we ended up getting nearly the same amount, or we did get the same amount as last year.
It was between 40 and 44 last year. Obviously, not all of them are posted, but as I said, it was between 40 and 44 last year. So we're kind of in the same margin.
Yeah, we were out this year. We were around 40 to 44 as well.
I think we had 42.
I think 42 is the final total we have, and that's not counting whatever we got in the press conference.
Right.
Absolutely.
So, include press conferences. Hey, we're pretty much above the number.
Yeah, absolutely.
Shout out to this guy.
Yes. I get no credit? You said shout out to this guy. Why?
He took the video and asked questions, and I asked questions.
Oh, so you're talking about the press conference?
Yes, the press.
I thought you were talking about the opening press conference.
Brian, he's got to give himself credit.
Of course I have to give myself credit.
He's got to give himself...
There wouldn't be a channel without me.
Oh, my
God. He's got to give himself...
Here he goes.
Here we go.
Here he goes.
Got to give himself credit.
Let's be real, too. If we want to make this dramatic, if this was supposed to be... You're really going to go that direction. You wouldn't have a channel if you didn't talk to me.
Yeah, he's right. He's right. I have to give him his cookies.
Shout out Sideline Statsman.
Yes.
Miss you every day, man.
Yes. But on a serious note, I mean, this honestly, since we started doing this about a year ago, I think this is the most fun I have with content. Is it the most view gauging and shit like that as far as, the rants go? Like, no, of course not. But, we're meeting people down here, bumping into new people, bumping into old people. How many times we mentioned it? Jeremy, Jacob, Don C, 32 beat writers, guys from Talking Giants, Lou from G Nation. These guys met Diana Rossini. I'm not a fan of how he's conducting the team, but I met Joe Shane. Which was like a blow to the head. I wouldn't have expected it. And I always say it. I said it to John Schmelk, who I was talking with, who's a member of the Giants YouTube channel, WFAN. I said, look, no offense to the guys who are the content creators, they get 30K subs, whatever. The shit I prefer doing is the stuff that's credentialed on the field. You're meeting new people and you're interviewing players, because I want to make a career out of that. These guys are looking to make careers out of that. They're trying to build up their stock and stuff like that. So the Senior Bowl is probably the highlight of my year every year. I mean, last year obviously was great. This year just reminded me how great it is. I mean, training camp's always great, but at the end of the day, the Giants, they don't do well every year for the last few years. But it's a lot of fun. Obviously, I hate the fact that it went so fast, but there will be a streamline of interviews that we have done and conducted, put out on the YouTube today. I think we released Cody Lindenberg. I know just Connerly's out. I know Jeffrey Boss is out. And there's just a lot more going. So subscribe to Brian Mansell's show. He's doing a little bit of a rebrand and configuring things out. Obviously, Nick's cast over here. And, you know how it is over here. But like, comment, subscribe, do all the good stuff. Turn on post notifications so you know when a live stream pops or drops. We appreciate you guys so much for tuning in during this trip, even before and after. And we will see you next time.